Hi, my name is Roger Seiler, and I'd like to welcome you to Literacy Workstation. Kind of reminds me of Kukla Friend and Ollie. I think if I have to go back, I don't know which one was my favorite. Ollie, I think so. But on another note, let's get on with the types of workstations that I have. I have six selected workstations. The workstations are read a book, expand a word and define, the dictionary thesaurus workstation, the dice letter roll, which I think that's going to be a fun one, and CD book station, and the newspaper read. They're all actually, to me, really great ways for students to get uh, an opportunity to learn new words and develop their literary skills, and I think it's something I really enjoy. I've always enjoyed adding one more word to my list of options, and you learn one, and you probably never forget it. So I'd like to explain a little bit about each of these workstations. The read a book is really it's pretty basic. It's where they choose one of their books and uh, to read, and at the end of reading the book, they have to answer certain questions, such as, what was the plot of the story? Who was the main character in the story? What was the outcome of the story? Were there any particular parts of the story that they really enjoyed? And then give us a general overall review of the book as to what they thought of it, and what would they recommend it to somebody else. No. The next one is the expand a word and define. This is where you take a word such as set and you change it to preset or reset, or uh, add, take another word and make it uh, plural where it's a single word. So instead of sets. And also in some cases they'll have to take and figure out if the word is or the word needs to be changed at the end in order to make it proper. So that's the second workstation. The third workstation is the dictionary and thesaurus. And what this one does is they take and they build on the dice letter roll. So let me talk about the dice letter roll first. The dice letter roll is where they take a group of dice, and you probably see this one here. Oops, there we go. It has a U on it, and it has an R, and it has an L, and there we go. Okay, and we have a group of these. Actually, a whole handful of them here, and what they do is they roll the dice, and they create as many words as possible out of all the dice that they roll. And what we also have are some dice, and I thought that was pretty cool. You can take this dice here. It has, you see it, it has a crab on it. And the crab, they could take and use the word crab, and if they want to just spell it, or if they want to use it in a sentence, they could use that. And or like sock, that's another one. That's pretty cool. So those are some options from the letter dice roll. But what we're looking for are new words that they don't have on their overall workboard or word board. Each student will have a word board, and there's certain words that they start out with knowing at the beginning of the year, and they continue to add on to this board. So they're constantly building their vocabulary and throughout the year. So the words that they roll have to be new. What they'll also do is they'll be able to look up the word that they spell in the dictionary. So hopefully it's a real word. And so once they get those words, and they'll put it on their word uh, board, and on their word board, then they would go back over to the dictionary thesaurus, and they would write a sentence using that word, and then they would go into the thesaurus, and they would change the word that they developed from the dice roll game, and then make it into they'll change the word without changing the meaning. And that was with the synonym. And then they would change the word into an antonym, and they change the sentence so that they change the overall sentence with, actually changing the sentence itself, the structure of that. So that's number 3, and actually number 4. And number 5 is a CD book station. And this is where they would not only listen to a story, but they would read along. Now, what's nice about this is if they follow along from word to word, they'll be able to see words that they may not have known how to pronounce it. And I know for me, it's like reading the Old Testament. You try to read a word like, oh my, I don't know what that I don't know how it's pronounced. So it's always nice to hear somebody else pronounce it, and that gives you an opportunity to find out whether how it really is pronounced, and they can follow along. At the end of these CD books, they would still also do it in the same answer questions about the plot, uh, the what the story was about, who the main characters were, and their overall feelings about the story itself, and how they would recommend it, and also, and then we would move on to newspaper read. And what my idea with a newspaper read is that the students would go through newspapers and they would find words that they don't know, and that depending on where we're at in the year, whether it would be a 3-letter word, a 4-letter word, 5-letter word, or maybe even 6-letter words. I mean, it gets to the point where they're looking at more and more words, and they want to add words that they don't know through looking through the newspaper, add them to their board so that they can then also include additional words their uh, and their meanings. So they would look through the newspaper, and then they would just write down the words, and then they would go through the dictionary and put the definition of it. It's kind of like the word tear. You can also use rend or rent. There's so many different ways that the word means the same thing, or the different words mean the same thing, but they don't always work where you want to. So that's the whole concept of developing different words, and so the main point of all these lessons are to develop your word board so that you could get the students will have more and more words available into their vocabulary. So that is my video on my literary workstations. Hope you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed talking about it. I've enjoyed looking at them. I've enjoyed this class a whole lot. So thank you for watching, and may you have a blessed day and a blessed life, and we'll see you on the next video. Good night. What was a good day? Goodbye.